most people would avoid asking like a harder question. For example, for landlords, I've actually put my property up because at the moment like, I'm going through divorce or whatever. I need someone else to deal with this. And, like I don't mind exploring other avenues, for example, something I've got before. Like instead of asking harder questions and being like, just kind of putting this aside to 1 second, like we'll look at that in a moment. If you don't mind me asking, like, what's the sort of time frame that you are looking for? And like can kind of going deeper, maybe not the start of the call, but later on, so it's a bit less like ambushy. In terms of what you said about the divorce, like showing that acknowledgement and empathy, which is something that a lot of people just skirt over for their own needs. For example, rather than just going, oh, so you want to rent your property out because this has all been going on, surface level, whereas deeper, more emotional, like getting them to go, oh, yes, I would feel like so much better if that was just handled. Like, what does it mean for you? Like, is this kind of keeping you up at night? Is that where we're looking at? Or is it more of a, I'm fine with renting this out in a month's time? So then you can check the urgency of whether they're window shopping for someone to rent the property out and there's not really that urgent, or they need to do something now and it's just a case of them like you selling yourself. Does that does that make sense of how I've explained that? Okay, cool. And then yeah, most people just wait until the end to get loads of different objections, and then enter like reaction instead of responding. And you don't want that. So instead, the best thing, the best thing that's worked for me, what I would do is call them out early. Like, for example, I obsessively focus, almost hyper focus, if someone's like finance, for example, let's say an investor for a rent to rent. So, for example, in Dubai, the minimum's 15K to invest. But if like they're telling me in just pure discovery, I'm not selling a deal yet, they're like, well, it's something I've been wanting to do, but I'm worried about picking the wrong property if I like I'm using my JV partner's money and I'm worried about picking the wrong deal. And they've just been a bit like I've been a bit hesitant, but they're happy to go. So I would pick that up and clarify, okay, just were just mentioned like you're feeling a little bit hesitant, and I just want to know like why that is. Like, has something happened before? Or kind of dig a bit deeper, like has like even if their tone of voice changes on something, it's like antennae. This is where I don't know either if you're that person who, when you're in a social setting, I sometimes, if I can feel, even around friends, someone's energy's off or like the vibes,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, who's
What's
thinking
that?
exactly, yeah, or like judging or something like that. Um, just call it out, and you don't have to be like, hang on, wait, what do you mean by that? Like, let them finish speaking, and then just like respond to whatever it is, and then when you have like just gently, even if sometimes it's very easy in sales to just like forget the point, like when you're speaking to someone. So I always have a notepad and I'll make a note and then just go back. Okay, hang on. You mentioned this. I kind of don't want to move forwards with anything until we've got a better understanding, because it also positions you as someone who is going to take the time to actually understand the needs and different from other people. Um, and yeah, the example that I put there, I didn't even read it, but you mentioned you're quite busy. Like, this is where you can pull out and let them sell themselves, which is my favorite thing. Like, would you even have the time to commit like into something like this? It's quite a big, our investors put a lot of time into if they're managing. Basically, the point I'm making is the objections going to come, but you're bringing it out first. So you're reducing the shock factor and it's less of a surprise. You're taking the frame back. I don't know if you've had anything like that before yourself.
Yes, I have. Who was it? Who was it with? It was a. Who was it? It was speaking to an agent actually, speaking to an agent, and I think I was already kind of talking about what it is that I wanted to do versus them kind of asking a question, because a previous conversation that I'd had with an agent, I didn't say enough. So they were asking and asking and asking and asking. And I feel because they were the ones to ask me, okay, so what's your intentions with the property? So what's this and what's this, etc. I felt a little bit more taken aback rather than me kind of taking frame or managing that conversation.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand. So instead
Hmm.
of you saying you must get a lot of people saying things like guarantee rent or this,
Hmm.
bring it
Hmm.
to them, they're like, so how are you going to pay? And
Hmm.
got you. Okay. That's so good that you like can reflect back though and like
Yeah.
self-awareness.
Mhm.
But yeah, something you can do with literally anyone you're speaking to. And also, I always say, because it's just so, and it's very easy to forget, especially if like you're trying to manage emotions and someone's giving you all this and you're like, hang on, hang on, hang on, you're contradicting yourself, you're saying all this, it's not adding up. But you've just got to calmly, gently, 2 second rule gap, and then like think, almost plan out, and it will come with practice as well, like plan out 5 steps ahead. Okay, if for example, let's say you're speaking to a doctor who's a landlord and you know that they're interested in healthcare. I think we may have touched upon something similar before, and they're a big fan of like the NHS. So 5 steps ahead, what kind of objection would they give? um let's say it's social housing, let's say it was just children, right? And they were like, oh, what clientele would you be occupying my property with? And children who needed like homes. And instead they were like, well, what about like nurses and like NHS and doctors? Like, what about, I see a lot of that happening. Surely you wouldn't be using my property for that. Like, I of course it's good to accommodate the children, but like this is a wacky example, but some landlord, like some people are just really picky. Um, and like, for example, you could, if they said earlier on in the call something about being major fans of the healthcare system in the UK, and you're then like going on about, okay, well, like a different clientele that's going to be occupying your property, and you're kind of like ignoring the fact that, oh, sorry, that's, don't know why that's come off. You're ignoring the fact that they've expressed a need or a want, and instead of like joining that, connecting the dots, going, okay, asking questions, how would you feel about potentially being able to be a part of supporting our healthcare system and the people who are able to make it possible, potentially by utilizing your property to do that? Like, you're kind of playing the moves in advance so that when it comes to, they're like, oh, this is no, I completely understand, like completely up my avenue, up my street, as opposed to just like ignoring that and then banging on about something completely irrelevant. Does that make sense? It's a very weird example I used. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Just linking their interests with what it is you want to do somehow.
yeah, somehow, like if they are, for example, when ages ago, I was I was selling these like guidebooks, tourist guidebooks, and
Hmm.
I was told, do not say anything like from the book, because I used to just say everything inside. I'd be like, oh, this is this. If you've got to wait for them to say what they're interested in or where they're going, like for example, I want to go punting, or then I want to go to like a pizza restaurant or whatever. Instead of like going through everything, just plan ahead, plan the conversation. Okay, I'm only talking about those two things. What questions can I ask that somehow is going to connect us back to that so that it feels natural? That's the point, essentially. Um, so yeah, no statements. And also another thing that I think I put down here is like getting them to say it rather than you making a statement. Like hypothetically, imagine like if this didn't work out. So for example, if renting your property on an AST, like you just weren't able to find the right tenant, just out of interest, like what are you planning to do next? Like what's your backup plan? And then like I don't really have one, or I guess I just ring around other agents. And are you okay with kind of the voids, the potentially stacking up for you? Well, not really. So like they're kind of telling you.